Last time we imported all of these images to make our banner for our website, and we've got two problems that we can see here. If I just turn these off, first of all, some of the images are the wrong size, so we'll sort that out and get them placed. And then second of all, they've got these backgrounds, which means you can't see through to the other images. First things first, let's sort out these sizes so that they're all the right size. So you have to do this layer by layer, and we're going to use a thing called the transform tool. The easy way to get this is to hold down the control key, that's the one on the bottom left of the keyboard that says CTRL, and T, so control and T. And what you'll see is it puts the image that's on the layer in this box, and you can then stretch it like this. Now, if you want to make sure that it doesn't get really fat or really tall, if you hold the shift key, it means it keeps its proportions, and then you can move it into place. So I'm going to make these presents a bit smaller, just like this, and they're going to sit at the front here. Now I'm going to go onto my Iguana layer. Sorry, I have to press enter to accept the transform. There we are. And then I can go into my Iguana layer, control T to transform, hold down my shift key to keep the size, and I can do this repeatedly like this, dragging it back, and I think I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller there, and then enter to accept. I can turn these off as I go, like that. Our lemur is really big, so we're going to go onto the lemur, and we're going to press Control T, and again holding down the shift key. That's it. That's a much better size lemur, and I think our sand cat is okay, so I'm just going to press enter. If I turn these back on, you can see the problem we've got with these layers being in the wrong places. So I'm going to move these about. I think maybe I'll have my Iguana in front. I might make him bigger later, that's okay. And I'll have the sand cat, if I get the sand cat layer, and maybe the sand cat can just peek over the top of the presents like that. So now I want to start rubbing out these backgrounds. Now, before I did that by just cutting away, the problem with that is if you cut away too much, you can't get it back again. So we're going to use a thing called a layer mask. So if I go onto the presents layer and go up to the layer menu, then I can click on layer mask and from transparency. And what happens is if you get two images, this is the actual image, and this one tells the computer how transparent that image should be. Black means fully transparent, and white means not transparent at all. So I'm going to switch this, and I'm going to use the paintbrush, and I can paint black onto the background. If I want a bigger brush, I can change a bigger brush, and I can also make it more fuzzy at the edges or not fuzzy at all at the edges. So if I make it not fuzzy at all, you can see you get a very hard edge, and if I make it very fuzzy, it sort of blends it in a little bit more. You can also use tools such as the flood fill, so I can use the magic wand tool again, and then I can grab the paint bucket tool and I can just pour black in there, and it will get rid of most of it for me just very, very quickly. I can then tidy up a few bits by using the paintbrush tool and get rid of these little problems around here. There we are. So we're starting to look a little bit better already, and I can repeat this process with different layers. So for example, my lemur layer here, I can again add a new layer mask. Each layer has its own from transparency, and I can start to get rid of all of the things that are around the lemur like this. Now if I need to do some more precise work, so I could get rid of a lot of it by making this a really big brush and get rid of that. You see the blurring on the edge there, so I'm going to make it a harder brush. So I can get rid of a lot of the big stuff like that. And then I can hold down the Alt key and zoom in. Here we're starting to see the pixels again. And take down the size of that brush, and I can just very gently go around the outside of the lemur like this. And we'll start to see that we've got a nice cutout of the lemur, which will sit on top of the page as if there was no background ever there at all. So, zooming out, and you can see that the lemur's starting to look cut out. When you're done with this, you can again start playing around with the layers. You can transform the layers still. You can move the layer order, so you can say, well, actually the iguana should come in front of the presence. Of course, we now need a layer mask there to take off this. And what we'll do is I'll work on this for a little bit and I'll show you the results in just a second. And there we are. So what I've done is I've created layer masks for each of these. I've gone around them in quite a lot of detail. What we're just going to have a look at in the next video is how to tidy some of this up, because you'll notice that there's some grass and things that gets in the way. We can also move these around so we can redo things in our image. You might have to rub out some bits that have gone off screen like that. If you do that, that's absolutely fine. Now the only other thing which I just need to tell you is, well, what happens if you make a mistake? So for example, I'm sitting here on my Sandcat, which I've carefully cut out. I decide, oh, there's a little bit more that I need to cut out just up here. And oh, I've gone onto my Sandcat. Now this is why doing it with a layer mask is better, because if you did it by cutting it out, that would now be gone and you'd have to start again. All we do have to do, however, is we need to paint white onto our layer and the detail comes back. And in fact you can do this with all of the background which you've removed. It doesn't lose any of it. There we are. So there's some of the background from the Sandcat picture. I'll just undo that because I think it looks better without it. So that's how we're going to start, and I'd like you to now give that a go.